Hi everyone, we're at the Emirates. My name is Kieran, one of the co-founders of the Sport Review, and I'm here with Martin, one of the other co-founders of the Sport Review.
Hello.
And we're here to preview Arsenal against Reading tonight. And Martin, I'll let you take the lead.
Yeah, so Arsenal taking on Reading tonight in the League Cup fourth round. So we're expecting Arsene Wenger to field quite an understrength team tonight. Lots of changes from the weekend we're expecting because obviously he likes to tinker in this competition with his starting lineup. Expect to see lots of the young Arsenal players given their chance to impress. I think a lot of Arsenal fans will be excited about seeing new signing Lucas Perez start a game tonight. He obviously scored his first goal for the club in the 4-0 win over Nottingham Forest last month. So he will probably be feeling that he hasn't had as much game time as he would have liked following his move from Deportivo La Coruña, which is a move that surprised quite a lot of Arsenal fans. I think a lot of Arsenal fans didn't quite know who he was when he signed for us, but so I'm sure they'll be keen to see what he's got to offer tonight. So yeah, it should be an interesting game.
I'm interested to see whether Wenger goes with Olivier Giroud or Lucas Perez. I mean, both are in need of game time, and we saw at the weekend when Arsenal played Middlesbrough that maybe a lack of a more powerful, intimidating centre forward, which I guess Giroud can be sometimes, was something that Arsenal were missing, even though Alexis Sanchez has obviously been great up front this year. Do you think it's time? Do you think Wenger needs to maybe go back to Giroud ahead of Perez? It seems Giroud is the man that seems to be the more obvious miss right now.
This is the thing. Giroud's obviously been out injured for the last few weeks, but he's now back in contention. He was picture training this week. And that is the question all Arsenal fans are asking. They're literally now waiting to see whether Giroud can win his place back in the team, because Sanchez has been so good up front that I think a lot of people would be almost surprised to see Giroud back in the starting lineup purely because Sanchez has been doing so well. But like you say, it can get a bit one-dimensional with Sanchez up front. I think it would be good. I suppose if things aren't going a certain way in the game, it's nice to have the option of Giroud to be able to change things up. But if you were to ask me, I suspect, because it's been working so well so far this season, Giroud, don't get me wrong, Giroud's likely to play tonight, but I would say that probably he's going to side with Sanchez just because of the way he's been delivering.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's going to be very interesting to see what type of team Wenger does put out, because as Martin has said, it probably will be younger players getting a chance to shine. But surely with Arsenal not winning a trophy last year, the couple of FA Cups of course, but it has been a bit of a barren period since their sustained success when they had the likes of Henry and Vieira. Maybe Wenger should put out a stronger team tonight and make sure, right, we definitely get into the next round. And of course, as even Arsenal fans themselves will admit sometimes, Arsenal do have a tendency to drop off after Christmas, and at least, if Arsenal are in the League Cup final in February, March, there's something to look forward to. There's a bit of silverware, and perhaps that could propel them on to title success. I know Wenger's favourite friend, Jose Mourinho, places great value on the League Cup, and it has often proven the springboard for a title win in a couple of months. Would you like to see Arsenal put out a stronger side?
Don't get me wrong, I would quite like to see that, and you make a good argument. I just don't think he will. It's that simple. Like I think it would be refreshing. It would be It's also it's a competition he's never won. He's never won the League Cup, so surely it's one that he might want to add to his collection. But I think that he won't do it. I'm sorry to say, he loves to bet in the youth in this competition.
Too late to change his tricks now.
It's too late. He's like, can't teach an old dog new tricks. It doesn't work like that.
So we can see obviously the Emirates is starting to get a bit busier. Who do you think Arsenal fans are looking forward to seeing tonight? Obviously you've mentioned Lucas Perez. Is there any other players that you think Arsenal fans may want to see in the side and given a chance, especially after the goalless draw on Saturday? There probably is obviously a case for giving somebody else a try. Who would you go with, Iwobi or Oxlade-Chamberlain?
I would probably bring in. I expect to see El Neni play tonight because he hasn't had much game time this season. I would think that between Iwobi, he's played 7 of the 9 games in the Premier League, so he's a youngster, but probably he might well get a rest tonight because he's played so much. Oxlade-Chamberlain, I'm sure, will start. He is in need of regular game time. I think we can all agree that. He's been in good form. Don't get me wrong, but he has not had the game time he wants. So he'll be hoping to get a run out tonight. He's 23. It's time for him to step up and deliver on a regular basis. Like, he signed for Arsenal. He arrived in a similar situation to the way Walcott did all those years ago, and it's a long time ago now. It's about time he started to deliver for the Gunners. But I expected Emiliano Martinez to start in goal ahead of David Ospina, the Champions League choice, and Petr Cech, the Premier League choice. It all gets very confusing back tonight.
Obviously, there was the famous 7-5 a couple of years ago at Reading. What do you think the scoreline will be tonight? It's going to be a comfortable home win. I mean, I know on Saturday our journalistic friend Alex Sharp predicted a comfortable Arsenal win at home against Middlesbrough. So I'm sure a few fans tonight will be expecting that. Could it be extra time? Dare I say penalties, or is it going to be comfortable?
I obviously went for an Arsenal win when it was 0-0 at the weekend with Middlesbrough. I'm going to side with an Arsenal win tonight, and I'm going to say 3-1 to Arsenal. It's definitely not a given, especially as it's going to be a somewhat weakened Arsenal team tonight. It should be an interesting game. Have you got a prediction yourself?
I think Arsenal will get the job done. I mean, like I said, I think this, as you've mentioned, this is a trophy that Wenger hasn't won, so the incentive is there. And last time Lucas Perez did play, I think he scored twice against Nottingham Forest. So I'd like to see him start. You paid 17 million for him. I would like to see more of what this guy is about. Has he got an Arsenal? Obviously, he has an Arsenal future, but he is quite old in striker terms at 27. Yeah. Is this a player who can kick on now and become a key part of the team, or is it maybe a rare Wenger dud? So I think Arsenal will win, and I would probably predict 2-0 Arsenal. Yeah,
I should say at this point that if you do go with any of our predictions and you happen to win your bet, we will not be annoyed if you want to send us a share of the winnings. That's fine, just the contact details are on the website. So if we turn our attentions now to Liverpool, tricky game tonight, home to Tottenham at Anfield. It should be a good game. What are your thoughts looking ahead to this game?
Well, I think it's going to be a very interesting clash. Liverpool have already played Tottenham this season, of course, and I thought Liverpool were pretty good at White Hart Lane. Unfortunate to drop points, considering how good Tottenham have been this year, and considering they haven't lost a Premier League game. I thought Liverpool did pretty well. It was a very attacking performance on the day, and Tottenham I thought struggled, especially considering they've got a great reputation for having a fantastic defence. Now it depends on what teams both managers will put out. I'd be surprised if Pochettino goes with a strong side, considering he's already got Harry Kane, who's injured. I think Dembele's just come back, and there's Alderweireld, who I think is injured tonight. So he could go for a weakened side, which could give Klopp the incentive. From Liverpool's point of view, we saw last year that Jurgen Klopp was happy to put out pretty good sides in the cup competitions, and he definitely places a lot of value on them. Of course, he hasn't won a trophy yet at Liverpool, and that's something that I think he will be desperate to do. A bit like I've mentioned with Mourinho. I think that he will want to get a trophy early into his reign, and that could help propel Liverpool to a title bid. So I think tonight will be a very interesting game. I would like to see Daniel Sturridge get some minutes. I think he needs some game time to try and find some of that prolific form that we've associated with him in the past. I would also like to see him pick Emre Can. I think he needs more game time. I'd also like to see some of our defensive options. I know Ragnar Klavan hasn't played too much. I would like to see what he's like in case we do rely on him in the future. But what do you think?
I mean, looking at what happened last year in the final, do you think that's going to be kind of a almost, try and spur them on to want to go one step further this year? Because they were so close last year to winning it. Do you think Klopp's going to take it seriously?
Absolutely. I think he'll definitely take it seriously. He spoke about it this week or last week, I believe, where he spoke about the pain of Liverpool going and losing to Manchester City in the fashion they did. They were pretty good in the final, I have to say. I mean, it was a pretty even game. The penalties were obviously a bit of a disaster, but Liverpool already made amends that following week when they beat Man City 3-0. So Klopp has his eye on this trophy. I think he would like to get a bit of silver while, so they will also want to win this trophy. But I just think perhaps with the Champions League and especially the Premier League, with Tottenham being so quite heavily fancied to have a good run at that this year again, that Pochettino may feel like it's time to rest some of his players, because if he loses some more of his key men, then they could see their title bid fade a bit.
That's what I was going to say. So they've obviously started to 2 draws in the Premier League in their last 2 games. Do you think that's what's missing is Harry Kane? Is that what the problem is, you think?
Well, it's a tricky one, because Kane obviously has been injured since the Sunderland game, and then we had Son come in and he was scoring goals, and everybody was saying, isn't this brilliant, Tottenham can survive without Harry Kane. But the last 3 games have appeared to suggest that maybe life without Kane isn't so easy, and it probably highlights that Tottenham maybe do need to bring in a more of a proven goal scorer in January if something should happen to Kane again, to keep their title bid on track, because we've seen the last 3 games how they have struggled. And it has to be said, of course, Bournemouth were in fantastic form. They were 6-1 winners against Hull early this month, but against West Brom, who are a good side, but you'd probably expect a team challenging for the title to beat. Maybe they do need some more depth, and without Harry Kane, they could struggle.
Yeah, I mean, it was obviously Vincent Janssen was one of the men that they kind of earmarked as the guy to be able to help Harry Kane out throughout the season, but because it's a long season as well with the Champions League this year. I mean, they can't just be relying on him to deliver week in, week out, and as we've seen, they've struggled in recent weeks, haven't they?
Yeah.
What do you make of the title race and how things are going at the moment? So obviously very tight at the top, just 1 point between the top 3 or 4, something like that. Who do you think's impressed? Who's impressed you so much so far?
I think so far the title race has been a bit of a reactionary title race, if I can say that word. I mean, on the basis of this weekend, you'd probably be saying Chelsea are title favourites for the way they blew away Manchester United. Of course, when Liverpool, with their impressive wins earlier this season against Chelsea and Arsenal, they were talked up as title contenders, and obviously their impressive wins against Leicester and Hull in recent weeks as well. Then you had Manchester United, who won the first 3 games of the season. Everyone's thinking, whoa, this is it. Mourinho's brought Man United back to the glory days. He's going to go on and do special things with the likes of Pogba, Ibrahimovic, but we've seen how those wheels have come off.
Those wheels have certainly come off.
They've definitely come off. And obviously Arsenal have been, I think they're unbeaten since that loss to Liverpool. Their win and run came to an end at the weekend, but you'd have to say Arsenal have been extremely impressive as well. So at the moment, I think predictions, and of course Manchester City, that goes without saying, but they have probably seen their star fade a little in recent weeks, but I'm sure that'll be back pretty soon, and it won't be long before everyone's saying, well, Man City will walk away with this title this year.
For sure.
But I think it's way too early to make predictions. I mean, we're only 9 games in, and so much can happen before now and then. I do feel, obviously, as you know, my Liverpool tendencies here might come out, but I think with the run that Liverpool have, if Liverpool are to be genuine title contenders this year, they need to be collecting probably 18-19 points from the next seven games, which they don't face a top 6 team, I think. So if Liverpool are to be in with a shot at winning the title this year, I think they really need to be top of the table by Christmas, because that's the kind of run that title winners go on, and the type of teams that Liverpool are playing in the coming weeks. There's no real excuses for dropping points, so that is one thing I'm looking forward to seeing, and I think that will be a true test of how this Liverpool team are shaping up. I think obviously it's a big month for the likes of November, for the likes of Arsenal, United. We have some tough games coming up next month, and I think that will give us a better idea of where those teams are at. What do you think?
Well, you heard it here, Jurgen Klopp. The pressure is on. You need to deliver up till Christmas. I mean, it's an interesting one. I agree with you. It's far too early to be drawing conclusions, especially when it's so tight at the top. What we can definitely say is that no team, as of yet, is looking like they're going to run away with it. But it's still early days. We're not even 10 games into the season yet. So yeah, it's an interesting one. We've got some questions here that we'd like to answer from you guys. And by the way, I should say, if you have any questions you'd like to ask us, just comment in the box below, and we'll do our best to get to them. The first one's from Nix, who wants to know what time the Arsenal Reading game is on tonight. Well, I can tell you it's on at 7:45 UK time. That's British summer time. Niall Kelly is asking, are Klopp's and Pochettino's style of play sustainable across an entire season? Could it damage their chances in the league and other competitions?
Well,
all about energy, isn't it?
It's all that energy. I think you have to take each club on a separate basis there. I mean, I think Tottenham, fantastic to watch. Well, one of my favourite teams to watch last year. I thought the pressing was fantastic. Really enjoyed their style of play. But with the Champions League, the FA Cup, if they win tonight, the League Cup and the Premier League, I think there's a case for saying that Tottenham could run out of energy. I mean, he did buy well in the summer. I think Victor Wanyama is a fantastic signing. Musa Sissoko, apart from his dodgy elbows, is also a fantastic signing. So he has brought a bit of depth there. But I think, as we've already touched on, with the pressing game, which requires obviously puts a lot of pressure on the players, especially to do that throughout the 90 minutes, that the likes of Kane, who are maybe not injury prone but have in recent months over the past year had a history of injuries, could suffer. In terms of Liverpool, I think they have an advantage this season, along with Chelsea, who if Niall's talking about high pressing teams, looking at how Chelsea played on Sunday, okay, it wasn't high pressing, they let United come onto them, but their counter-attacking game was brilliant, and they are a team that would obviously benefit from the lack of European football as well. So I think Liverpool and Chelsea are best placed to really make the most of that. And you have to remember, I guess, with the European games in the week, it's hard for managers to kind of experiment with systems or maybe try players that they're not completely sure of and throw them into a game a few days later. I think we saw that with Pep Guardiola on Sunday, where they struggled with a three-man defence, and it kind of shows that Klopp and Conte do have the advantage in terms of working with their players during the week, really drilling down their ideas and making sure their team is perfect for the weekend.
Harry Mitchell wants to know, are Arsenal going to capitalise on their young youth in the Cup or risk starting the first team? Well, we touched on this earlier. I really think that Wenger knows best in this situation. Well, he'll say he knows best. Whether he actually knows best is a different issue. But he is definitely going to go with youth tonight, I should think. I mean, he will go with some older players in this form of like the likes of Lucas Perez, perhaps Mohamed Elneny. But it's going to be, and there's Giroud, of course. Olivier Giroud is likely to start up front tonight after his layoff with an injury. So yeah, I think we can expect to see a relatively young team. I don't think, much as I'm sure Wenger would love to win the League Cup, it's not going to be his priority this season, if we're honest. So yeah, I think it's difficult to say, but I think it's mainly going to be youth. I should say, actually, we skipped a prediction. We forgot to predict the Liverpool-Tottenham game. So
yes.
Put your money where your mouth is.
Well, I probably wouldn't put any money in this game. I'm just hoping it won't go to extra time and penalties, because otherwise it's going to be a long night at TSR Towers. I would probably go with maybe Liverpool 1-0, but I'm not saying that with a lot of conviction. I think it's a very tough game to call. Really depends on what teams Pochettino and Klopp put out. But I think with the home advantage and maybe just the stronger options off the bench, like I said, Origi and Sturridge both to maybe get some game time tonight. Sturridge didn't look very happy at the weekend to be on the bench, which is fair enough. He's 27, wants to be playing week in, week out, and he needs goals. So I think with those attacking options that can come in, I think maybe Liverpool can do it 1-0. Maybe 1-0 Origi to score.
Nice.
What do you think?
I think I'm going to follow suit and go with a Liverpool win, but I'm going to go 2-0 win. I think just Liverpool's exciting brand of attacking football is going to be too much for Tottenham, and I think that, especially without Harry Kane tonight, so it will be a Liverpool win. You heard it here first. So yeah, I think that's pretty much a banker in my opinion. So have we?
Excellent. Yeah, we're all out of questions.
We're all out of questions.
Any last minute winners?
Harry wants to know: will Arsenal adapt their style from the Premier League? I mean,
well, if they play Giroud up front, then they might have to. I mean, I didn't see the entire game of Arsenal against Middlesbrough, but I heard that there was a lot of crosses that went into the area, and there wasn't really anybody to aim for. So maybe that's something that Arsenal will be working on tonight if Giroud starts. But I can't imagine Wenger's not a man that really changes too much, as you've already said. So I think it'll be same old Arsenal probably, won't it? Same old Arsenal, I think you're about right. And we've got another question from Ollie here, who wants to know, I'm not sure if there's a hint of sarcasm in this question or not. He wants to know, will Arsenal ever win a proper trophy again? I think most Arsenal fans here would like to think they will. Whether they will or not is another issue, I guess. But yeah, it's. Do you think Arsenal have the ability to challenge for the top honours as things stand right now? As things stand right now, yes. I think they probably would be my slight favourites. And I've just said earlier that I don't really think it's time to make predictions for the league. But I would say that perhaps they're my slight favourites to the league, considering Wenger is a man who knows how to get it done. Albeit it's been a while. I'm sure he hasn't forgotten though. He strikes me as a man that doesn't forget things. They also have Mesut Ozil, Theo Walcott chipping in with goals this year, which I think is a huge thing for Arsenal. I think in the past they maybe have been too reliant on one or two guys, and the rest of the squad haven't really chipped in with goals. I think Sanchez has found a good position up front. Whether that works against all teams that want to drop back and not really go after the game, they could struggle, but that's where Giroud may come in. And I think while Mustafi has been a bit, I wouldn't say hit and miss, that might be a bit unfair, but I think there has been a few moments that you thought, well, that maybe he isn't quite up to Premier League speed yet, but I think he looks like a good defender, and that consistency between him and Koscielny is something that Arsenal have kind of missed. There's been a lot of change on the back four, especially in centre half, with injuries obviously enforced over the last 3 or 4 seasons. So I think Arsenal are probably in quite a good position, especially because I don't think like Man City will find it as easy as everyone has said, as we've seen in recent weeks. I think Liverpool set pieces are a bit of an issue, so I think there's a chance there for Wenger again this year to win the Premier League title. Obviously last year was a fantastic chance and Arsenal blew it. This year it's going to be tougher, but still you probably would put Arsenal amongst the top 3 favourites, and in my opinion they should have a slight edge maybe on their competitors. It's whether they can cope with the Champions League and the Premier League, like I've mentioned.
Of course, yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? Like I think a lot of Arsenal fans, it's an interesting one. Obviously things are going quite well this season, so the feeling around the club is pretty positive right now, but we know how quickly things can turn in the modern game. Especially, I always say that, you know, modern football, the history in modern football goes back 3 games and no further. So 3 bad results, I think, would be you'd have most Arsenal fans here protesting outside. I don't think we'd even be able to film this, protesting, asking for Wenger to go. But I think it's, you know, we've said it so many times, you just said it there, it's time Arsenal won the Premier League. It's the one that's been eluding him since 2004, and it's going to be really interesting to see what happens. In fact, that's what lots of Arsenal fans are asking about, what's going to happen at the end of the season in terms of Arsene Wenger, because he's only got a year left on his contract. So I think that it's going to be very interesting. You know, if he won the league, is that a perfect time to go? If he doesn't win the league, does he want to stay and try and win it? It's a question on everyone's lips, and it's interesting that Arsenal have let it come to this stage and they're not making an official announcement about it. So it will be interesting to see what happens this season, I think.
We've got one more question. Granit Xhaka, obviously he's not playing tonight, he's suspended, correct?
Yes.
But Harry David Mitchell wants to know, is he a cup player? Just a cup player, I guess, is what he's inferring, or is he a Premier League player as well?
Is Xhaka
is he somebody that he'll just turn to in the cup competitions? A £33 million cup player?
I don't think so, no. If that's what is meant by the question, I don't think so, because he's obviously he's suspended tonight and he's going to miss the game at Sunderland as well on the weekend for his petulant red card against Swansea. But no, I think he's proved himself to have a lot of potential. He's looked assured and he's looked capable of coping with the physical demands of the Premier League. It's just a question as to whether he can get that kind of, he's got that edge to his game in terms of the physicality, kind of temperament a bit, you know, who knows. But I think that it's going to be difficult to say right now exactly, because we've only seen 4 or 5 games from him. But like, I do think that he has the potential to become quite a dominating midfield player.
Harry has he's qualified his question.
Oh, he has.
Is he suitable for the cup games?
He would. I would think if he was fit, if he was eligible. He's obviously suspended tonight. If he were fit, I'm sure he would be in contention for a spot in the team.
Yeah.
Purely because he hasn't quite been first choice this season. He's obviously come in when Coquelin was injured. But so it'll be interesting to see whether if Arsenal get to the 5th round, the quarterfinals, whether Wenger would opt to start someone like Xhaka. I guess.
I think he's a good player for Arsenal. Yeah. I think it's been too long since Arsenal have had a midfielder who's got a bit of bite about him. It's a bit of a throwback to Vieira and Petit. You know, they used to have a reputation for those regular red cards, and Jack has already got one this season. I'm sure he'll have a few more going on his record in the Bundesliga before the season's out. But I think sometimes that's what Arsenal have missed. They've been bullied a bit too much in the past. So I think he's a good signing, and cup games could help him as well. He needs more game time. I'm not sure. Wenger he's put him on the bench quite a few times already this season, hasn't he? So I'm not really sure. Does that suggest that Wenger isn't too sure whether he's ready to be a Premier League regular right now? But I think cup games are a good chance for him to get that experience that's needed in the Arsenal team. So
okay, so we've got two more questions. One of them's from me. One of them's from me, and the other one is from Jerome, who we'll get to in a second. Hang on in there. So I wanted to know about what your thoughts are on Theo Walcott, because obviously he started this season on fire. Everyone's been raving about him. Oh, you know, he's got a personal trainer. He was working hard all summer. He's a changed man. He had an epiphany. You know, he's a completely new man. The question is, can he deliver over the course of an entire season?
I hope he does. I mean, Theo Walcott has been this player who's been ridiculed, I guess, a lot by rival fans and maybe even by his own fans at times. It makes me laugh this season how I've seen some of the ex-professionals have changed their mind on Theo, who have previously been saying, get rid of him, he has no future at the club, he's just picking up a wage, etc, etc. And this year now he's looking like what the Arsenal fans would have you believe on social media, the next Thierry Henry, which may be going a bit too far. But I think he's a good player. He's not going to be Arsenal's key man, never. I don't think he'll ever be that good. But I think, again, when you're winning titles, you need players that can chip in with goals. You look at the great Sir Alex Ferguson's sides; they always had players that chipped in. The front 5, front 6 players would always chip in with at least 10 goals a season. So I think that's what Walcott's target should be, and he's already achieved that with 8 goals. I think it is in 11 games, I guess, after the goalless draw on Saturday. So I think he credit to him. He's turned it around. Maybe it is a bit. Maybe it's overdue, of course. 10 years out of the club, and he was such a great prospect when he came. I remember everyone was so excited about him. But better late than never. He's still 27. He's got 4 or 5 years left in him, and this is a good season for him to really lay down his marker as well, especially with the increased competition for places. Maybe that's the wake-up call he needed, as well as missing out on the Euros in the summer. I think it's great that he got a personal trainer. I mean, I know he has maybe. It is quite well plugged on social media, and again, I kind of get the impression some pundits, maybe a certain former Man United captain, an Irish captain, hasn't really been that impressed by it. He thinks it's just it should be common practice for a player to really knuckle down and really earn his place. But I think it's good. He's shown initiative, and he's a good goal scorer, and it just shows. I think in the past when he has hit a run of good form, injuries have always come back and haunted him, and he's missed the rest of the season or missed a sustained period of games, and he's gone out of form. I think this just shows when he's getting a sustained run of games, he is a good player.
Can deliver, yeah. I think there's a feeling amongst Arsenal fans, I completely agree, that he only tends to play well when he's approaching the end of his contract and it's time to renew and the negotiations have started, and that's when you see him on his best form. So it's quite refreshing to see him deliver right now without that impending contract situation.
And he's inspired me to get a personal trainer.
Which
my Premier League career isn't over yet.
There you go. Well, he still harbors ambitions. No comments, no negative comments.
Yeah, no negative comments.
We got one more question then from Jerome, who wants to know, should Arsenal fire Wenger at the end of the season? They're blunt and to the point. Should Arsenal fire Wenger, yes or no?
Well, it's a bit dangerous talking about that considering where we are. I mean, we're not off the place. I don't think he should be fired at the end of the season. I know some people don't like the sentiment where Wenger should be allowed to make his own decision. He's earned that right with, when you're talking about Arsenal trophies, I mean, there's a huge one there, I guess, which Wenger would point to, the Emirates. But I feel like, I do feel like he should be allowed to make that decision. He has earned the right. And when you look at great managers in the past, like Bill Shankly, to one that springs to mind, where he left the club and initially found it hard to deal with saying goodbye to a club he loved and a role he loved. I mean, I think Wenger, if he wasn't allowed to do it on his own terms, it would spoil it for me a little bit. And I still think Arsenal have always been there or thereabouts. He's been frustrating because he hasn't been willing to invest in positions maybe everyone knew that they required, but he has shown this summer anyway a willingness to add numbers to the squad and good players at that. I think he's still. You see how competitive it is. I think that's another thing that people forget. He had to deal with Ferguson, Mourinho, then he had Benitez. Now there's Klopp. Now there's Guardiola. I mean, there's even more talent now. So it's Pochettino. So it's hard for any Premier League manager. Just ask the guy at Old Trafford right now. So I think he should be allowed to decide when he wants to go. I think maybe part of that should be Wenger realising himself, if there is an ideal candidate that he feels is the right man to fill his shoes, that he should step aside if he thinks that guy's the right man. That's the guy I see guiding this club on from where I've built it. For example, I know Piers Morgan has often been very vocal about not appointing Klopp. But for example, if it's Simeone or somebody like Eddie Howe, who could be on verge of going somewhere else, maybe that's the point where Wenger needs to be, right, I need to put this club in safe hands for the next 10 years. I'm not going to be around for 10 years. Well, we don't think so. So maybe now is the time for me to step aside and make sure that we're in good hands. But again, I think that's his decision to make. I think he's earned that right. And I know it's the sentimental view, but he's been here 20 years.
Yeah, it's funny. It's obviously an interesting question because we all know that Sir Alex Ferguson had a big say on who took over from him at Old Trafford. Obviously, we won't talk about what happened with the next manager. It didn't go so well. But Wenger's always been adamant, and while I agree he should be given the right to choose his successor. He's always been adamant that it shouldn't be up to him, and actually he's going to walk away from the club, and it's the club's problem to find the next manager. I mean, I can't see him having no say whatsoever. I'm sure they'll consult him.
That sounds like a PR line to me.
It sounds like a PR line, exactly. Yeah. So it's an interesting one, but I think we're going to know this time next year whether Wenger is still in charge or not. But yeah, there we go. So I'm going to pan out of the shot now and leave Kieran to say goodbye. Thanks very much, guys.
Well, thank you guys for joining us outside the wonderful Emirates Stadium. I hope you guys enjoyed the League Cup games tonight, and as we've already mentioned, we're tipping an Arsenal win, a slender Liverpool win. Thank you for all the comments, very much appreciated, and feel free to keep making comments after the video has ended, and please tune back soon. We're going to be back outside Upton Park tomorrow with a preview of West Ham Chelsea, which should be a fantastic game. Well, thank you from me and my fellow co-founder Martin, and we'll be back soon. Have a great evening, guys.